Let me ask you something. What if I told you that the difference between where you are now and where you dream of being is buried in your daily routine, not in some lucky break, not in some overnight success story, but in the small, quiet choices you make every single day? We live in a world obsessed with intensity. We celebrate the massive wins, the viral moments, the dramatic transformations. We love seeing someone drop 50 pounds in 30 days, build a business from scratch in a month, or suddenly go from broke to a millionaire overnight. And sure, those stories are flashy, but they're also misleading. Because behind every so-called overnight success is something much more powerful and far less glamorous: consistency. You see, it's not what you do once that changes your life. It's what you do daily. You can hit the gym for 6 hours one day, but if you don't go back for the next 30 days, it means nothing. You can read 100 pages of a book in one sitting, but if you don't pick up another one for the rest of the year, your mind doesn't grow. One massive push doesn't build anything permanent. It's the slow, steady, boring, unsexy grind that actually rewires your habits, strengthens your discipline, and moves your life forward. Consistency beats intensity every time. And here's the crazy part: the people who win in life, they're not necessarily the most talented, the smartest, or the strongest. They're simply the ones who kept showing up. They made a decision that they would do something, no matter how small, every day that moved them closer to their goals. And they did it, whether they felt like it or not. They understood something most people miss. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. But commitment, that's what keeps the engine running when motivation fades. Think about it. How many times have you felt fired up after watching an inspiring video or hearing a powerful quote? You made a decision. That's it. I'm changing everything starting tomorrow. But then life hits. You get tired, you get distracted, the spark dies out, and you go right back to your comfort zone. Why? Because you were relying on emotion instead of habit. Emotion is a great spark, but it's a terrible engine. The engine, the thing that keeps you going mile after mile, is built through daily practice, not occasional passion. There's a reason the most successful people in the world don't talk much about intensity. They talk about rituals, they talk about routines, they talk about the power of showing up every day, even when they don't feel like it. That's what separates professionals from amateurs. Amateurs wait to feel inspired. Professionals get to work. Every day, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. And those votes don't come from grand gestures. They come from daily choices. Do you snooze the alarm, or do you get up? Do you eat what's convenient or what fuels you? Do you scroll for hours, or do you read 10 pages of a book? These aren't just actions. These are bricks. Bricks that build the foundation of your future. And the best part, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to go hard every single day. You just have to show up, even on the bad days, especially on the bad days. Because every time you choose consistency over convenience, you're building mental muscle. You're training your brain to stay the course, and eventually, what was once difficult becomes automatic. That's how real change happens, not with a bang, but with a whisper repeated 1,000 times. So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't have what it takes, stop. You don't need to be extreme. You just need to be consistent. Don't wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, or the perfect energy. Start small, stay steady, trust the compound effect, because little by little, a little becomes a lot. And one day, without warning, you'll look back and realize you're not who you used to be. You didn't transform because of one big moment. You transformed because you made the decision every day to keep showing up. You chose growth inch by inch, and that choice, that daily commitment, that's the real formula for improving yourself every single day. We all love the idea of motivation, that fire in your chest, that rush of energy that says, let's go. It feels good, doesn't it? When you're motivated, everything seems possible. You plan your goals, you write out your to-do lists, you start dreaming big. And for a little while, you actually believe that this time it'll stick, But here's the truth no one wants to hear. Motivation is a liar. It's fleeting. It's undependable. It's like a friend who hypes you up and then disappears the moment things get hard. You can't build your life on something that's unreliable. That's why discipline matters more than motivation. Discipline is what picks you up on the days motivation doesn't show up. Discipline is what keeps you going when the excitement is gone. It's not sexy. It doesn't make headlines, but it builds winners. Think about it. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision and the results you want. The body, the business, the peace of mind, the personal growth. Those don't come from feelings. They come from actions. Consistent, repeated, sometimes boring actions that are done with or without motivation. When you rely only on motivation, you become a slave to your mood. But when you rely on discipline, you become the master of your habits. It's easy to work out when you're feeling pumped. It's easy to study when you're inspired. It's easy to grind when everything is going your way. But who are you when you're tired, frustrated, discouraged, or uncertain? That's the real test. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only cares what you do. And don't get it twisted. Discipline isn't about being rigid or emotionless. It's not about grinding yourself into the ground. It's about choosing long-term gain over short-term comfort. It's about recognizing that your future is worth more than your current mood. The moment you understand that, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop arguing with your limits. You simply act, because action, especially consistent action, is what transforms potential into progress. Now, some people will say, well, I just don't have discipline. That's not true. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, just like a muscle. The first time you try to wake up early, it's hard. The first time you push through a workout when you're exhausted, it sucks. But the second time gets a little easier, then the third, then the fourth, and one day, what used to feel impossible becomes automatic. That's how you build a new standard for yourself, by repeating the right actions until they become part of who you are. Here's the key. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. You're going to fall off. You're going to miss days. You're going to get it wrong. That doesn't mean you failed. What matters is that you get back on track faster. Discipline says, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to stay committed. That's the difference between the people who talk about changing their lives and the people who actually do. And the funny thing is, the more you practice discipline, the less you need motivation. Because your habits take over, your standards rise, you no longer have to convince yourself to take action. You just do it because that's who you've become. You no longer need to feel inspired to act, you act, and inspiration catches up later. That's the hidden power of discipline. It creates a momentum that carries you even when life tries to slow you down. So the next time you say, I'm just not motivated, stop right there. You don't need motivation. What you need is a reason, a real one. A reason to wake up and grind, even when you don't want to. A reason to push through discomfort. A reason that's stronger than your excuses. And once you have that reason, let discipline take over. Because when discipline becomes your default, progress becomes inevitable. And when you stop waiting to feel ready and start choosing to be ready, every single day, you don't just improve, you evolve. You grow, you rise, not because it was easy, not because you were inspired, but because you decided you were done living at the mercy of your moods. And that decision, that's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary ones. There's something sacred about the morning. It's quiet, it's calm, it's untouched by chaos. And in those early hours, before the world starts demanding your attention, before the distractions pile up, you are given a window of opportunity, a small stretch of time where you get to decide who you're going to be that day. That's the power of morning habits. They aren't just routines, they are declarations. Declarations that say, I'm in control of my life. You want to improve yourself every day, then you need to start with how you start your day. Because how you start determines how you show up. You can't expect to live a focused, powerful, and productive life if the first thing you do in the morning is check your phone, scroll through nonsense, and fill your brain with noise. That's not a routine, that's a reaction. And if you live your life reacting to everything around you, you'll never have time to create anything within you. The most successful people in the world have one thing in common: they protect their mornings. They don't wake up and stumble through the day hoping to find their rhythm. They create their rhythm. They don't wait to feel inspired. They start with discipline, and from that discipline, momentum is born. And it all begins with the first hour of their day, because that first hour, that's your launch pad. That's your moment to ground yourself before the world tries to pull you in 100 different directions. That's your moment to move with intention, not just motion. And the habits you build in that hour become the mindset you carry into everything else. You don't need a complicated routine. You don't need to meditate for an hour, drink a dozen supplements, or follow some influencer's checklist to the second. What you need is consistency. You need a few core habits that set your mind, body, and spirit in alignment, and then you need to commit to them daily. It might be as simple as waking up without hitting snooze. That one act alone, choosing to get up when you said you would, is a victory. It's you keeping a promise to yourself. It might be making your bed, hydrating, writing down your goals, praying, exercising, reading, journaling. Whatever aligns with your values, but do it on purpose. Do it with the understanding that these are not just chores. They are acts of self-respect, acts of preparation, acts of clarity. Because when you start your morning with intention, you carry that strength into everything else. You walk into your job different. You speak different. You think different. You lead different. And that confidence doesn't come from what's happening around you. It comes from what you did before the world got to you. Most people start their day in chaos. They oversleep, rush through everything, barely eat, and leave the house already stressed. By 9 a.m., they're already behind. That's not life. That's survival. And you weren't built just to survive. You were built to lead, to grow, to dominate your space. But that starts with giving yourself the advantage of a strong beginning. And let me be clear, you don't need to be a morning person. You don't need to jump out of bed full of energy and excitement. You just need to own your morning, whatever time that starts. Morning isn't just a time on the clock, it's a mindset. It's the start of something, and if you can win the start, you increase your chances of winning the rest. That's what daily improvement looks like, not in leaps and bounds, but in the quiet victory of starting your day with purpose. In showing up for yourself when no one else is around, in choosing to live by design, not by default, because when your mornings become intentional, your life becomes powerful. So tomorrow when you wake up, don't just wake up to your alarm, wake up to your opportunity. Wake up to your power, wake up to the version of you that doesn't just wish for growth, but creates it, one choice at a time, one habit at a time, one morning at a time. That's how you build the life you say you want. That's how you improve yourself every single day. Failure, it's a word that makes people uncomfortable. It's a word most try to avoid at all costs. We treat it like a disease, something shameful, something to hide. But that's the wrong way to see it, because failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the path to it. The truth is, failure isn't a dead end, it's a detour. And sometimes it's the only route that leads you to the strength, wisdom, and clarity you need to grow into your best self. People are so afraid to fail that they never even try. They let fear of embarrassment, judgment, or imperfection hold them hostage. They want the reward, but they avoid the risk, and that mindset is what keeps most people stuck. Because real improvement, real growth, only comes through experience, and experience, more often than not, means falling flat on your face, getting back up, and learning what not to do next time. If you want to improve every day, you have to stop fearing failure and start using it. Every setback has a lesson. Every mistake has a message. But you don't get the lesson if you quit too soon. You don't get the message if you let the pain of the fall drown out the wisdom. it was meant to teach you. Growth doesn't happen when everything is going right. It happens when things fall apart and you decide to rebuild anyways, stronger, smarter, and more focused than before. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history came from failure. Innovators, athletes, leaders, creators, they all failed, and not just once, over and over again. But instead of letting it break them, they let it build them, because they understood that failure isn't personal. It's part of the process. It's feedback, not finality. It's a mirror showing you where you need to evolve. And yes, failure hurts. It stings, it knocks the wind out of you. But pain is part of progress. When you lift weights, your muscles tear before they grow. When you train your body, you go through discomfort to build endurance. The same principle applies to your mindset, your skills, your career, your relationships, everything. If it's worth having, it's worth failing for. The most dangerous thing about failure isn't the fall, it's what you tell yourself after. I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm just not meant to do this. What if I look stupid? That's the voice you have to fight. Because failure doesn't define you. Your response to it does. Will you let it stop you? Or will you use it to sharpen your focus, strengthen your will, and keep pushing forward? You don't grow by avoiding hard things. You grow by facing them, learning from them, and getting better because of them. Every failure is a test, not of your talent, but of your resilience. And the people who truly improve every day are the ones who treat failure like fuel. They take the hit, process the lesson, and get back to work. Not bitter, but better. Not defeated, but determined. The truth is, if you haven't failed lately, you're probably playing it too safe. You're staying in your comfort zone. And nothing grows there. Nothing changes there. The comfort zone is where dreams go to die. If you want to get better, if you want to see real transformation, you have to get used to being uncomfortable. You have to get familiar with the feeling of falling short and still choosing to show up again. So the next time you fail, don't shrink, don't run, don't make it personal. Stand in it, own it. Ask yourself, what did this teach me? What can I do better? How can I rise from this stronger? Because that mindset, that decision to use failure instead of fear it, that's what separates the people who talk about growth from the ones who actually live it. Failure isn't the enemy. Fear of failure is. And once you stop letting it control you, once you flip the script and start using failure as a teacher, everything changes. You stop hesitating. You stop holding back. You become bold, focused, and relentless. And that's when the magic happens. Not because you were perfect, but because you were persistent. That's the formula for improvement. It's not just about wins. It's about how you handle the losses, how you respond when life doesn't go your way. Do you stay down or do you rise? Because in the end, failure doesn't stop the people who are committed. It fuels them, and it can fuel you too, if you let it. You can have the right plan, the right habits, the right mindset. But if you're surrounded by the wrong people, your growth will always hit a ceiling. One of the most overlooked factors in personal development is your environment. Not just where you are, but who you're with. Because people are not just background characters in your story. They are influence, and influence is powerful. If you spend your time around people who are lazy, negative, unmotivated, who always complain, who always make excuses, you'll start picking up their patterns, even if you don't realize it. You'll start thinking it's normal to settle, to coast, to quit when it gets uncomfortable. You'll begin lowering your standards just to fit in, and slowly, without noticing it, your potential starts shrinking. Your vision gets smaller. You begin living in a cage built from the limitations of the people around you. But here's the truth. Growth doesn't happen in that kind of environment. Growth needs space. It needs energy. It needs to be surrounded by people who believe in possibility, not limitation. People who push you, who challenge you, who inspire you to rise. Not out of jealousy or competition, but out of shared ambition. The kind of people who don't laugh at your goals. but ask how they can help. The kind of people who aren't afraid to tell you when you're slipping because they want to see you win. You become like the people you spend the most time with. So if you want to improve every day, you have to get intentional about your circle. Find people who are hungry, people who are growing, people who are uncomfortable with mediocrity, because that energy is contagious. Just like laziness is contagious, so is drive, so is focus, so is discipline. And when you're around people who are chasing their potential, it forces you to level up just to keep pace. It's not about cutting people off cold for no reason. It's about protecting your energy. You can still love people without letting them lead your life. You can be kind without staying small for their comfort, but you owe it to yourself to surround yourself with people who speak to your future, not your past. People who remind you of who you're becoming, not who you used to be. People who would rather see you uncomfortable chasing a dream than comfortable wasting your time. And if you don't have those people yet, become that person first. Be the one who sets the tone. Be the one who wakes up with purpose, who doesn't fold under pressure, who holds the standard high. Because when you become that kind of person, you start attracting others who are built the same. Energy finds energy. Leadership attracts leadership. Discipline recognizes discipline. And just like that, your environment starts to evolve. Sometimes the only reason your progress feels stuck is because your surroundings are stuck. You're trying to climb with people who are content staying where they are. You're trying to soar with people who are afraid of heights. And that weight, they might not mean to hold you back, but they will, not out of malice, but out of habit. Because if your growth exposes their comfort, they'll want to pull you back down to where it feels familiar. Don't fall for it. Your future is too important. Your growth is too valuable. Surround yourself with people who light fires in you, not those who dim your flame. People who call you out, not just cheer you on. People who live with accountability, not excuses. That's how iron sharpens iron. That's how greatness is built in community with others who want it just as bad as you do. Remember, you were never meant to do this alone. Improvement isn't a solo mission. It's a journey walked with the right tribe. The kind of people who celebrate your wins, help you up from your losses, and never let you settle for average. Because when you find that circle, or build it, everything changes. You don't just grow faster, you grow stronger together. So take inventory of your circle. Look around and ask yourself, are these people helping me grow or holding me back? Are we building each other up or just wasting time together? Be honest, because your future depends on the people you let speak into your present. Choose wisely. Your improvement isn't just about what you do. It's about who you do it with, and that choice. It could be the most powerful one you ever make. One of the biggest mistakes people make on their journey to self-improvement is chasing perfection instead of progress. They set high goals, make big promises, and imagine a flawless transformation. But when they stumble, when they miss a day, when the results don't come fast enough, they beat themselves up, they think they've failed, they think something is wrong with them, and eventually they give up. Not because they couldn't improve, but because they expected the process to be perfect. That's the trap. The truth is, growth is messy. It's not a straight line. It's not a beautiful staircase where every step is equal and predictable. It's more like a winding, unpredictable road. Some days you're moving forward with power. Some days you're dragging yourself an inch at a time, and some days you slip backward. But that doesn't mean you're not progressing. It means you're human. Real progress is not about being perfect. It's about showing up consistently and doing just a little better than yesterday. You see, perfection is a myth. It's a moving target that keeps you frustrated and exhausted. You can do everything right and still not feel like it's enough, because perfection doesn't have an end point. It's always one step further, one improvement more, but progress is measurable, progress is grounded, it's real. It's not about how far you have to go, it's about how far you've already come. If you want to improve every single day, start tracking progress in small, tangible ways. Write it down, reflect on it, celebrate it. If you went to the gym when you didn't feel like it, progress. If you turned off the distractions and worked on your goal, progress. If you handled a situation with more patience than the last time, progress. These are victories. They might not make headlines, but they are building something powerful inside of you. Momentum. Momentum is how real change happens. You don't wake up one day transformed. You build yourself piece by piece, day by day, habit by habit. And when you take time to recognize the progress you're making, even the small wins, you start building belief. You start rewiring your brain to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who grows, someone who keeps climbing. That shift is everything. Because when you stop obsessing over perfect outcomes and start focusing on daily improvement, you take back your power. You no longer wait for motivation to strike. You don't get discouraged when things take longer than expected. You learn to respect the process, and the process becomes part of your identity. This is why tracking your journey is so important. Not for anyone else, but for you. When you document where you started, what you struggled with, and what you've overcome, you build a personal record of your resilience. And when life gets hard, and it will, you'll have proof that you've faced challenges before and still moved forward. You'll have evidence that you're capable of growth, no matter how tough it gets. It's not about pretending the struggle isn't real. It's about reminding yourself that your effort is real too, your determination. Your commitment, and those things count, because you don't have to be the best. You just have to be better than who you were yesterday. That's the game, 1 inch at a time, one better choice at a time. And yes, there will be setbacks. There will be days when nothing goes right, days when you feel like quitting. But don't let those days define you. Let them refine you. Track them, learn from them, and then get back to work. Because you're not here to be perfect. You're here to evolve. So stop measuring yourself by impossible standards. Stop comparing your beginning to someone else's highlight reel. Start looking inward. Start paying attention to your own progress, your own fight, your own growth. That's where the real transformation lives, not in the flawless image of success, but in the daily grind of showing up, trying again, and refusing to settle. Progress is powerful. It builds confidence, it builds consistency, and it builds the kind of strength that doesn't depend on motivation or approval. It comes from within. So wherever you are right now, look back. See how far you've come, then look forward and take the next step, not a perfect step, just a better one, because when you commit to tracking progress, not perfection, you unlock the kind of growth that lasts. The kind that shapes your mindset, sharpens your habits, and rewires your life. That's how you improve yourself every single day, not in giant leaps, but in consistent, intentional movement forward. And that's how you win.